Oh no, I'm muted. Now I think we can start. Uh, I'm recording this meeting. I think you got some kind of a pop-up saying that. But in any case, if anyone objects to that, reach out later in the end, LinkedIn, whatever you want, and I will blur you out, your name and stuff. I'm sure that probably it will not be visible, but nevertheless, let's do that. Now, I am sharing my screen. I hope you're seeing Azure OpenAI introduction to the offering, blah, blah, the feature image from meetup.com. If you can see that, feel free to unmute yourself and yeah, let me know. And by the way, I did mute all of you, but feel free to, whenever you have something, if you have any question or anything, you can either type it or yeah, ask me directly. We are not so many people. So let me, I think I can do that better from here. Yeah, this is me. From those that you don't know me, I am George Cosmidis. I'm a Microsoft MVP, organizer of Munich.net meetup, and I work as for cloud DevOps and security for Slalom. So you can reach out here also with that QR code. Find me LinkedIn or in GitHub or anywhere you want. I recently, like a couple of months, 3 months, I don't remember, I deleted my Twitter account, so you can't find me there anymore. But you can find me, I think, if you want, you can use LinkedIn. So let me move forward because we have a few things to say. And if anyone else comes, I hope I can hear it. No one is waiting in the lobby. Perfect. Uh, this is where I work. I will try to skip, move fast through that. So Slalom is a huge company. It has more than 40,000 people around the world. Um, More than 3,000 Microsoft projects delivered already. Is 4 times Microsoft Partner awarded, only for 2022. I should update that for 2023. Let's see. 46 markets currently. I don't know. I think that contains Ireland and Amsterdam. We're not 100% sure. We were the 44th and latest. We are not anymore. As I said, Ireland and Amsterdam, Netherlands added to the list. Um, yeah, we are here to make an impact, so I think that would be interesting. There are positions offered all the time. Feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in joining, and let's move on. So I will start with this since I don't know, there was no prerequisite about your knowledge in AI and what AI means and what AI can solve. I thought I will start with this very simple equation and explain something quite basic for AI. So does anyone know, if we consider all of those unknown, the F, the X, and the Y to be unknowns, does who knows what an AI can solve? Where is the which of those unknowns can answer? Anyone interested? So in math, stats, wherever statistics, analytics, you need to know the function, and then you apply the function into an X and get your Y. For a problem to be considered an AI problem, you have to have F as unknown. You have to have some X's and some Y's, and then feed those X's and Y's into the AI system and get the F. Then use that F to apply to new X's that have not been predicted before. So the AI comes to solve a problem where actually the F, the function, is unknown and not the X or the Y. Yeah. Based on that, let me move to the next slide. This is more or less where we are now. We have the artificial intelligence in general. In that, we have machine learning, and give me a second to admit Frank. Then we have deep learning, and then we have generative AI, where we're going to focus today. If we want to analyze that a bit more, we would say that artificial intelligence tries to imitate human behavior by relying on machines to learn and execute tasks without explicit directions on how to execute them, or what to output. One step in machine learning, we are talking about machine learning models here, where they take data in, like weather conditions, and then they use this data to find the proper algorithm, to fit those data in an algorithm in order to make predictions like what the weather will be, I don't know, tomorrow. This same applies, for example, if you feed data about a small store that you have, all the previous income you have per day, and at the end you will ask, what's the prediction for next Christmas season, for example. On the other hand, if you go one step deeper, we have the deep learning models. These they don't just use machine learning, they are using layers of algorithms to form like a neural network, right? You probably shared of that already. And we use that to return results in more complex scenarios. And Azure AI services actually are built on deep learning, not in machine learning. We are making a step inside. Now, we have the final one, which belongs to deep learning, and it's the generative AI. This is a subset, let's say, of deep learning models that can produce new content based on what is described as an input. So you're giving them an input, and then they are generating new content. This is why they're called also generative AI, right? Um, these AI models can produce language, can produce code, uh, not very successfully, but probably at some point they will be quite successfully. It produce images, a lot of stuff. So what is generative AI? And I will move, let me show all of this. I didn't know that I added this effect. Sometimes PowerPoint is doing crazy stuff on its own. This is what we talked before: artificial intelligence that tries to imitate humans, machine learning that we are actually feeding data about whatever is around us and expecting a result, deep learning that uses layers of algorithms, and generative AI, which is a subset, let's say, of the deep learning models. Now, Azure OpenAI, it's based on four components. We can separate it in four basic components. The pre-trained generative AI models. These are, you probably have DaVinci and Curie and all of those things. The customized capabilities. So on top of those pre-trained models, you can fine-tune them and have your own with your own data and have more custom responses. Give me a second to actually admit friend here and another one. uh, then you can build tools on top of those fine-tuned models to actually detect and mitigate harmful use cases. There is a responsible AI movement. I can share it. I will share the page later. This AI can be used for bad, of course, and there is a great effort around to actually try to find ways to stop that. If you Google a bit, you will also find, I think they are called the ChatGPT jailbreaks. So texts that you can prepend and actually freeze some sort of answers given by ChatGPT. So it's not limited that much by these built-in tools, let's say. Last one for Azure API, it's quite common for most Azure services. It's a role-based access control and private networks. You can inject it in a private network, so you will have a much higher security. Now, say one forward. Now, what are the OpenAI workloads? You can have common workloads like machine learning, computer vision, natural language processing, anything you want, but you can have also other more distinct workloads like generating natural language, right? Text completion, embeddings. These are, let's say, very specific data structure that you can transfer content into an AI model in a specific structure, and that's of course um, more successful. It can also generate content, code, sorry, and it can also generate images. Now, next one. All of that stuff is what Microsoft offers as an AI portfolio. You can see on top that we have the business applications, which it's called citizen developers. It's actually low code solutions. You can do some stuff with Power Apps and Power Automate. Microsoft plans, and up to a certain degree, it's already there. The OpenAI is everywhere and will be in every product. And then we have the more developer specific or data science specific services, which include the OpenAI, the cognitive services, and the machine learning, the ML platform. Now, I would add here that although there is no strict guidance on when to use a particular service, for example, Azure existing language service can be used for common problems that they don't need a lot of optimization. But on the other hand, when you want a very optimized solution, a very specific solution, a chatbot that answers to your specific problems, you can switch to Azure OpenAI. So you might see overlapping services, language services from both OpenAI and the cognitive services. Nevertheless, you can choose the correct one, and give me a second. I want to admit, someone else did it for me. Thank you. You can select the correct one based on your requirements. Have in mind that all of those things cost some money. So OpenAI costs money, especially when you try to fine tune your models, when you're actually trying to create your own models on top of the models that they are already there. Now, the OpenAI model family is all models are part of uh, one of those families. It's either the GPT-3 family, which are the text models, the Codex family, which um, um, includes all the models that produce code, and the DALI family that includes all the models that produce images. And of course, there are also the embeddings um, um, that you can create. That this is kind of. So someone has his microphone open, and I muted you, I think. Yeah, these are the three families of models that you can see in an Azure, in an OpenAI, in the OpenAI. Now, next one, what do I have here? Yeah, so let's go into some more specific stuff, how to create a quality data set. In your exploration of Azure OpenAI, you can see that you can use, and let me admit, I think, again, friend here, you can see that you can use a model as it is. So for example, the text Da Vinci model, but you can, based on that, train your model to give your specific answers, or train to create specific images, whatever you want. Now, how do I create a quality data set in order to train my object, to train my model? First of all, we try to include only one prompt instead of quite a few examples, right? So that means that if you want to have a question, what is the best product? Don't try to rephrase that a million times. The models are quite smart to know what's the best product, what is the first product, or all of these variations. You don't need to provide detailed instructions as part of the prompt. So don't get too deep into that, because you will see later that this has a cost. You're actually transferring bytes every time. Each prompt should end with a fixed separator, so the machine can understand how you separate stuff, how you separate each prompt from the next one. One that Microsoft suggests is that weird thing here with new line, 3 hashes, and 2 new lines again. The important, you can use anything you want. The important thing is that you should not use that stuff anywhere else in your prompts. So you could use the word there. That could be obviously not a very good idea, because you will have it everywhere and then it will confuse the model. You will not understand where it starts and where it ends. An interesting thing here is that we are we are actually called to program the models in natural language. So we're not writing code. There is no way to actually define a separator, or there is no predefined separator. We need to define it ourselves, and we need to define it in based on repetition. So if we have one prompt, if we feed one prompt to the model, then this thing here, even that weird thing with the hashes and new lines, means nothing. It's just an information that the model can't do anything about it. But if you feed a few thousand rows and then you separate each prompt with that thing, then the model will automatically understand there is a repetition. It will understand that each one of those things is a different prompt. So it's like programming with natural language, and you need to find solutions to that using natural language. Now, there is also a suggestion: each completion should start with a white space. This is because of some internal ways Microsoft is using to tokenize not Microsoft, OpenAI actually, but anyway, it's Microsoft now, used to tokenize the text. It includes, let's say, the white space. Instead of having it at the end of the word, it's having it at the beginning of the word. That was, I don't know, somehow they found that this is more this gives better results, let's say. So it's also very important for you to know that while you're starting, just have a space. You will see that later in an example. Now, for each completion, you can again choose a separator. It has to be different. It can be this or the 3 hashes, but you can't have all of that. You can have you can imagine whatever you want and have it as a separation. Microsoft again suggests one of those. And then if you want to have inference, the inference is, let's say, for example, pre-trained, like including a text so that your model can have a character always based on that text. And they are suggesting that, you know what, you can use the same separator as you're using here. And then the final one, you can't train a data set, you can deliver a data set with more than 100 megabyte in file size. We'll see later that you're actually uploading model, right? A data set, sorry. Next one, what do we have here? Yeah, so there is also, let's say you wanna limit untrue statements. You wanna train a model on how to respond in certain scenarios. This will be one data set. It's using the JSON-L format, which means it's a file, and each line is actually one JSON. So for this, we would save it in a file named JSON-L, and the line number 1 would have this, and line number 2 would have this. Now, if you see here, the prompt is, give me a second. The prompt is company VHF insurance, product all round insurance. The ad is that one. And is it supported? The completion says yes. And then the second prompt is for this company, say we are not supporting that. What's the idea behind it? Let's say you want to create an engine that someone visits your website and it asks for, I have this company, can you support me and actually do some advertising with me? Did someone, sorry. mind the space here and here, the one that we were discussing, that you need to start your completions or sequence. So this is actually what the question is, and this is actually what the answer would be by the model, right? Uh, Give me a second. So there's also something here that it's tricky, that green thing. Do you know what that green thing is? They just used, instead of using this as a separator for its prompt, they use that. Because at the end, no matter if you see kind of a structured JSON here, what it ends up on the other side being is a huge list of text. You never send, you never communicate with your models or with the API with something structured. You just give it a text. So this prompt here, these two JSON here that you will see, they will be concatenated in one string, and the slash and supported will separate one prompt from the other. This is a more complicated, a bit more complicated example, let's say, that includes all the delimiter as they suggested it. And let's see again, what does it say? This is like a template, right? So the prompt would be, it will always include a summary of the interaction so far. So you need to somehow create a summary of the interaction so far. How? You feed it to a model and it returns you the summary back. You feed it to a text Da Vinci model, for example, and ask it, can you summarize this text? And then you will get a summary back. You will put it here. And then specific information, if you want to have some other specific information in natural language, like we are offering product A and product B and this and that. And then this is, from this point on, it's actually the discussion that the customer has and the agent, the bot. So as long as this discussion follows, you just add it, concatenate it, and it becomes, this prompt becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So at the end, you will have a huge prompt that contains the summary, what is the summary of the discussion so far, some specific information if you care about them, and then the entire discussion. And of course, if you want to limit the number of tokens going back and forth, at some point you will need to get only the last X part, the last X interactions, right? The last 10 or 15 interactions. And then this is where the summary on top will be so helpful. Now, I don't have much to show you in terms of PowerPoint, let's say, because I find it quite a bit confusing, to be honest. I was thinking to dive directly. Give me a second here. Dive directly into a sample, a real life sample. And actually go to portal. I'm bringing this window over here. And so all of these things that we've done in a, no thanks, in a, come on. Λοιπόν, Azure OpenAI sample. This is just a resource group that I created, and I deployed one Azure OpenAI service here, and I deployed the second one because the first one, it takes some time. In West Europe, they don't support the ChatGPT, which it is helpful for what we're gonna do today to see it. So let's move directly to this one and see the offering. Nothing very strange here. The resource management is what you expect. You have your networking, you have your cost analysis, logs, pricing tier to select from, keys and endpoints. This is the endpoint to talk to get into exchange information if you write your program, and these are the keys. And you also have the model deployments here. I don't have deployed anything. This is not very useful. If we assume that you deployed your infrastructure and you're done, this is a job for the infrastructure guy, let's say. Now, for you as a developer, most appropriate place to go is actually the Azure OpenAI Studio. which I just click go away. So first page, we care about that. We have our completions. We'll check about that in a minute. We have our chat. No deployments yet here. Yet. I think these are actually the deployments that I might use here. I don't have anything. These are the available models. We also have the CDPT Turbo. I think this is part of this family anyway, but you can choose it and start working on that. You will see that even I'm using for a demo that I created the Text DaVinci 3, and it's quite fast anyway. And this is the file management where you can upload your new data sets. So let's see one by one what's happening here. Let's create a new deployment and let's choose the Text DaVinci 3 model and model. Let's name that tests DaVinci. Doesn't take much. That was the time. It might need a few minutes more. So it actually shows that it's done here, but let's try to write that. Yeah. So you might need a few minutes more. Let's jump into that one and see if that can work. Let's choose this one, and deployment name test. Let's see if we'll have better luck here. Now, this is what I was talking about. This is how simple things are. You're giving it a system message on top of that, that it's like you are an AI assistant that helps people find information. So what you will actually feed to the engine is that on top. You can add some sort of examples like user, where is Marine Platz? It's in the city center. Stupid answer, I know, but whatever. And what that does, going here, and it has this user, where is Marienplatz assistant? It is in the city center. Here we are separating now. Microsoft does it automatically anyway with this. Here, of course, the separation is this one. And every other answer, if we add another one, where is, I don't know, Ost, I can see Ostbahnhof. It is near the city center. Then you have exactly that. Now, these have a new line hiding because we want to have it readable, but the essence is that at the end, what you will feed the model is this thing, right? It's a huge line, but it's not very easily readable. Let's keep that like that right now. And this one here. So I set these up as my examples, as my system methods, let's say, one like a quick training. And then I can interact here. Hello. Hello, how can I assist you today? Why? Because it's an AI assistant. If it was a chatbot, it might answer something else. But if it was a chatbot, we had to change that too, because what it sends here is this one, and it can correlate that with that. So I will tell you a mistake later with Marv that I did, and I was trying to understand what's happening, and it's returning these strange responses. Let's see now, where is Marienplatz? If we ask that, see what it will answer. Not exactly what we suggested, but these are again suggestions. It doesn't mean that it will answer exactly what we have here. Let's see why. So First of all, we have here some parameters. One of them is the max response. These are the tokens. Each response, each question and response is actually tokenized and then sent into the engine, into the model as tokens. What is a token and how does it actually do it? Let's use another one. A token is just this thing. It's more or less 3 or 4 letters. This is how this system message is converted, and this is based on that the model just gets and responds some other tokens, and once you bring all those tokens together they actually form a phrase. So in a sense what the models are doing is not understanding what we are or what we are writing. They are just trying to continue. That's why they're called completion. They are just trying to continue what you wrote, and what you wrote, what they complete, seems like an answer to us. But how it works is actually saying that the combination of this token and this token and this and this and this billions of tokens, they usually have this as a response. So right now here we are checking how many tokens the response might be. If I have one, for example, let's how here it was clear the code. Where is marine plants with one token? Probably it will not answer anything. No text was generated because one token is only 3 letters and it can't generate anything, right? But if I add, let's say, 10 tokens. Let's see now. Will it generate anything? Is trying to generate that. It added the also. I don't know why it found that this is very convenient, a very useful thing to do. But it's coming closer to our responses. So when you're trying to train a model and you know that your responses are more or less that big, you can allow it to have responses like 4,000 tokens, right? You are know then that you will probably get out of the proper answer, and the model will start responding whatever it wants. Same exactly, not same, but similar to that is the temperature and the let's put that to 10 as I had before. The temperature and top P. These are let's say they are controlling randomness in a kind of different way. So if we remove some of the temperatures back, some of the randomness, and we try again, where is marine plants? The heart of obviously it wanted to continue because I didn't let it here. Let's see again, clear. Where is marine plants? In the heart of Munich. Probably it had more to write. So you see that this was the other thing that we were discussing. Don't try to get into details and try to feed it with every possible question and answer. Is in the city center, it's actually the heart of Munich. It's smart enough to know how to understand that these two are matching with each other, right? And now that I have this temperature and top P, these random controllers, let's say, lowered, it will most probably produce the same and the same result again and again and again. If I change that, it will try to produce a different result each time based on the limitations we have given, of course. It's also return to that thing. I don't know why. Anyway, we also have stop sequences, which means that if you see, for example, this as a possible response, then stop your response. This can be useful in some assistant scenarios. And we also have the past messages included. As I told you already, this costs money. So if I have, where is Marienplatz and where is Ostbahnhof? Here, you see that now we have this as a total response. So this thing, every time I will ask something new, all of those things will be sent. There are 4 question and answer here, messages. We have 10, so they will be included. And At some point, when we pass those 10 messages, only the last 10 will be included in the message. And that reduces the number of tokens and thus our cost. And give me a second. And thus our cost. And of course, our how smart our assistant is, because if we start removing the past messages, it might start behaving differently, because it will only respond based on the knowledge that we have on the past 10 messages. We can see that in Marv with Marv later. So this is the chat. This offering is not available in Europe yet, and it's under preview anyway. So I don't know if you can base anything on that, but it's an easy way to have a smart assistant. You can't. It's not a good idea to start adding questions here, because you will exhaust the limit of 4,000 tokens, and then you will have no response and answer. If you wanna feed it with a lot of data, with a lot of questions and answers, then the proper way is to actually train your own model. We'll see in a minute how. Now let's go into competitions. I think this is done already. We have similar settings here that control how the competition is done. At the end, let me bring that here. At the end, I want to bring the assistant, that thing, back here. What is happening at the ChatGPT is creating that and feeding it here on your lights. And actually not feeding it in that window, because that window also is processed somewhere, but feeding it into the API at the other end. So we can replicate exactly what's happening in the chat side with the playground here. So let's try something simple. Let's just say hi and see how it will respond. You see how crazy that is? As we said, they are trying, the engine is trying to complete your phrase. I didn't have any comma, any sorry, dot, any exclamation mark, anything. So the model didn't know that I just finished my phrase and I was saying hi to it, and it tried to continue the hi message. If I add, for example, a exclamation mark, I don't know what it thinks it does, some sort of code. If we continue, this is the max length token, so it tries to answer within 100 tokens. This is 100 tokens. Now, if you get to see the controls in a bit more detail here, temperature, again, we saw it already in the chat, is it's controlling randomness, as we said, right? When we lowering the temperature, that means that the model will produce more repetitive and deterministic content. So if its temperature is to 0, it will just produce the same and the same response again. So increasing the temperature, it means that we are increasing the creativity of the model, let's say. Max tokens, we said already, the response, it should be 100 tokens. That doesn't necessarily mean that when you have 100 tokens, you just cut it there. It means try to find an answer that you can fit it in 100 tokens. Sometimes that's not possible. I guess that this code had also other stuff to show here. Some other times it's possible. Stop sequences, again, as we said, we could have the var o as a stop sequence. And then if we try to regenerate everything, we just stop there because it found that sequence. Top probabilities, again, as we said, it tries to, it's controlling randomness, but it's controlling randomness in a slightly different way. So it lowers the probability of selecting the same token again. So the temperature is trying to is acting on the entire response, how random that would be. The probabilities is acting on its token, how probably its token is to be selected. I think I've shared someone. Yes. So what else do we have? We have frequency penalty and frequency presence. This is again something. Let me admit. Um, this is it's again connected to the tokens. It means that it will penalize the tokens that are selected more. So this is the one is let's say proportionally, the other is literal. So if a token named var_o is, as we've seen before, let me reduce. I remove the sequence. See that they are also. You can do it. Good luck. Whatever. Yeah, we have again the same code. The temperature is high, so it produces random results. Each time a bit different. You need to try a few times. If we remove the temperature completely, we don't know who would be the perfect for the model result, but it will be then repeated forever. Now here, if we have that frequency and presence penalty higher, it will try not to replicate that var_o again, which means these are for code generation anyway. These are very good to have them as low as possible, because in our code we are frequently replicating words, var and I don't know, int and this and that. So we have the words repeating all the time. So we have tokens repeating all the time. Best of, you can ask the model to return not one answer, but 20 or two, I don't know, and then have some local algorithm yourself to select what the response should be. You pay for that, right? It's not that it comes for free. If you generate 3 responses, the tokens will be times 3, probable. I don't know what each response will contain, and then you will pay for all these. And the pre-response text and post-response text is, when I'm writing hi, I can say that, you know what, add that hi friend. I don't know. So, oops. So every time that it says hi, it will also add the friend, and then it will answer something. Now, this was more or less the parameters, and we'll use these parameters to get some something meaningful out of it, like the robot I was talking about. So let's see the final one, the file management. How do we upload a data set? I think, do I have a data set that I created? Because if not, it's relatively easy. I think it's not, but I can get this one from our or what did I do? I don't know what I did. Is it okay? Finally, I can get this, for example, as prompts. Create a file named something, I don't know, dot JSON-L, and then you can see it, but I just to the other screen. Just paste that here. This is a JSON per line, right? And that's done. And now I can come to my model here and upload a new data set. Yeah, browse for a file. I already had one. I didn't see it anyway. Upload that, upload file. Now it takes some time to actually process it. And then once you are done, you can use it to create your custom model. Now, this is it processing already? Not running. It will run in a minute. Now, of course, this is something that you need to work, and I think I had somewhere here, yeah. This would be, for example, a Q&A for your business. If we scroll over here, we'll see that we have, for this topic, customer question, agent reply. This is enough. We don't need to get into details in every possible way of how a customer would ask it. One question is enough, and we leave the rest to the model. This is the win of using the Da Vinci models, the OpenAI models, right? So you can create your own Excel sheet of hundreds of thousands of questions and answers. I don't know where you will find it, but someone needs to do it. And then you feed that and you create your own bot that can answer specific uh, questions. The other way would be to use, for example, a tool to scrape your company's web page, download everything into a TXT, and upload that, and have that as a learning base, so the model can learn everything, and then leave it to the world to ask questions. Of course, that is not in your control, but it's a very quick way to actually create a bot that knows about your company. I think right now Da Vinci knows about most big companies like Microsoft and Slalom and AWS, but not small ones. And I think the models are trained up until OpenAI models here in the Azure OpenAI end of 2019. So everything that happens after 2019, they don't know it. You need to insert it. So did that thing, is that done already? Not running. I don't know why it's not running. At some point it will succeed. Okay. And then we can go, for example, to our deployments, and we can choose that I want to deploy, I have this deployment, create new deployment, select a model. One thing is that important, you cannot deploy the same model again, and it makes sense. If that's the model that you need and you need to use it in 3, 4 different scenarios, then use it. Why do you need to deploy it again and again and again? It will not make any difference, because no matter what you're using, all these stuff that we are prepending in a model, they are not stored in the model. The model is not retrained with your data. The model is just a static thing over there that you query again and again. So you can have the same thing, the same model. So if we train, for example, no, give me a second. Yeah, I have deployed Da Vinci over already, so I don't. Anyway, we can click customize model. We can select. Your subscription is not enabled for fine tuning. If you believe this to be. So Microsoft is giving me this for free as Microsoft MVP, but apparently they are not giving me the ability to train a model. This is quite an expensive and time-consuming process, and it's the most costly one. You can start paying like around 100 to 150 euros per month for a model that is trained with just these 2 lines of code, right? For now, I'm paying nothing for what I'm doing. So if we go to the Azure OpenAI and see cost analysis, anyway, you will see that in a minute. So this is how you do it. You select your model. You select here your training data that you have already uploaded. You're doing a validation here, advanced options like how much of those data have to be used for validation, and then review and train, and it's done. After a while, you have your model, and you can select it exactly. It will be in that list, and you can select it exactly as I'm selecting a pre-trained model. Did it open? Yeah, this is the cost I'm paying for this guy over here, right? Marv, I don't know how you know it, but we can visit it in a minute. Now, this more or less does our understanding of Azure OpenAI, the offering. And now we can see how we can use it practically. Let's go to a test meetup and do a quick one. Let's go to the Explorer, although we have it already. Yeah, whatever, that's okay. And let's go to ChatGPT, and let's load an example, which would be I am Xbox customer support. They have these questions, and go away. And we can see code here. for this one, and we can actually get it in C#. So don't ask me why they don't have a convenient copy button, but I can do this. Then I can start my studio. Oh, not Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio. I'm trying to start my Visual Studio. Hope it will start. Yeah, it's here. So create new project. It can be a console app project. Save it. Yeah, whatever. Desktop. .NET 6. And we are here. We get, come on, we get that. We paste it here. We need those two over here, and we need the Azure OpenAI as a NuGet package. So go here, search for this, include pre-releases because there are other that they have nothing to do with Microsoft. You include you need to include pre-releases. It's beta, it's not for production, but anyway, we can use it for now. And then we can see how you can just not use it. And yeah, async ask. And we need the key. Now you will see the key, but it's okay because I'm planning to delete my model after it. You're getting your key. If you remember, we're going here. Where is it? Key. Let's copy key1 and let's go here. Test meetup. I think I got that correctly. Let's paste it here for now as clear text. The key. And that's it. We are running. No. What? Sorry. Running now. I should have put a breakpoint here, so I need to run again. Sorry, it's not fast. And actually, I copied both examples, one for streaming and one not. So it should be like that. Sorry for this. And we are here. Let's see what it's doing. Creating an OpenAI client with the appropriate key and the URL. We get that. We talked about how we get that. We're adding the system. Now take a look how the system is. It's just this text, nothing more. And then it's adding some sample questions. How much is a PS5? I apologize, but I do not have this information, blah, 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 which is it's actually what is here that we're adding as samples. And then we send that to the model with the appropriate parameters here, and we're getting a response back, which is one of the responses message. I apologize, is the last one. So if I go here now and I add another one and I say, now the user is saying, something like, who can I ask? Maybe they say that in the answer, but I haven't read it. Who can I ask to get a price? We are here. Let's see the response. This time the response is a message from the assistant. You can check the official website of the manufacturer, authorized retailers for this PS5 prices, blah, 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 blah. All of that response, which we can control the size, as we said, from the max tokens. So this is all you need to actually start building smart assistants. You need a system message to go on top that identifies and limits the assistant on how it will work. And then you're just asking questions. And you can, of course, have a set of questions as a preset so that it will be there forever, let's say, and will context size, if that's a word, more your bot. Nevertheless, you need to remember that at some point, these are added, and at some point it will be more than 4,000 tokens, and you will not be able to send everything. You will have to choose the last 10 or something each time, and then you will have to use your another bot to create a summary of the first 100, how many that was, to include it as a summary and all this information. So you need to do quite some work, not that much as expected. Now, that library, as we said, is beta, but in essence, what it does, it's actually this. It just adds this thing here. Just, I'm not copying all of it right now. Adds that here, and then instead of it says user and assistance, it copies this thing here as a second question, probably an answer by the assistant. So all of these things, no matter if you see it now here as trying to have a model behind it, this chat message model and this the chat completion options, at the end is concatenated to one big string. And this is what I use to actually do Marv. Now, for those that you don't know Marv, let's me bring, why is not coming up? Yeah, it's a reluctant and sarcastic bot. So if you say something like good evening, someday it will answer. The first time, evening is barely afternoon. Yeah, okay, thank you, whatever. How are you? Are you today? So you are following a conversation with a bot that is reluctant and sarcastic. But how did I do that? Actually, with the exact same way. I'm using an Azure function. You can find the code here. Anyway, let's go GitHub. Oops, no, not this one. This one. You can go and get the source code here. I'm using for API for the code an Azure function. And actually, let me open it locally here in my Visual Studio. It will be easier to see a few things. An Azure function, nothing special here. It accepts, it has two endpoints, one to get the entire history and one to get answers based on the questions. If we go here, sorry, if we go back to Marv actually, see that there is a button here to get the entire discussion as a JSON. That's what this history thing is doing. And then there is an OpenAI service I created which does nothing more than using HTTP request to do some request to the API that they have on the other side. There is no library ready yet for those things, so you create everything yourself. This is just a raw HTTP request, right? A post into that API. The API name includes the model name. So if you have a model name that you created and you trained yourself, you just have it there. If you don't, I have a Text Da Vinci model, you can just have that. There is a discussion service that actually contains, forget Dirk, for example, that's another bot. Let's focus on Marv that contains the pretext, let's say, that puts the bot in a mood. And then I use these characters as a separation, not for any other reason, because it was clear when I was writing, I was a bit lost and all these hashtags and everything made it difficult to debug. And what it does in a get response, when you have a new question from the user, Dirk was trying to correct what user was saying, what the user was saying. So you know that human has a tendency of write how are you and how are you and I don't know how are you. So Dirk was an attempt to optimize that, and no matter how you write it, Dirk will convert your answer as a human to how are you. This didn't work for two reasons. It worked actually, it produced results, but first of all, it was expensive because I was doing two requests. And second, um, it produced responses that they were very similar. So each time you have a different question asked, this will be responded a bit different. If you have a space here, it will also contribute to produce a new result. So if you have a mechanism that always produces the same and the same question, then you will get the same and the same answer. So it didn't work so well, and that's why Dirk now is in there. But at some point, I need to remove it. If you check what Dirk is doing, I have a setting that I'm disabling Dirk, and it's answering directly the question. But how? At least it removes the commas and this character, because this was my nemesis. I will show you in a minute why. Whenever you ending a proposition, a sentence with comma, then the completion model thought that I need to continue that phrase. It didn't respond. It just continued what I was writing. So just to be sure, I'm removing any commas from if the user forgets one. So yeah, I also have that comment here. So it gets the same question but without a comma, most probably. It gets the history. Now that is where I'm keeping locally in an Azure function memory all the history of what have been discussed. And I'm selecting for now everything because it's not a very interesting robot. You will have some fun maybe in the beginning, and then you will not reach 4,000 answers and questions. So I'm including all of the dialogues in there. How? If you see here, I'm using the template, which is this thing here. Marv is a chatbot that reluctant answers questions, blah, blah, blah. And I'm replacing all the histories as that. So at the end, what is produced is actually a huge string that always starts with Marv is a, let me put that here. Starts with that. I can make it even nicer if I have that. And replaces that with the previous history. So I think I call the human, or how do I call it? I will tell you now the funny part, human text. Yeah, human. So human, this discussion that we had over here with Marv would be, let me, good evening, Marv. Evening, it's barely an afternoon. And next time I'm asking something, what it will send back, if you remember the template over here, let's go back. Here it ends with Marv. So what it will send back, it's Marv. It waits for completion. So the completion model works fine, understanding that, you know what, I need to continue this, and this is usually Marv's answer. So the problem that I had initially, it was that I didn't introduce that as Marv. I wrote the natural language code like I was talking to a robot, and I had you. I wrote you are a chatbot that reluctantly answers questions and responses, and then in the UI, I used, instead of Marv and you, I had Marv and you, and I copied that you and I paste here. It was not human and Marv, it was you, meaning the user of the application, and Marv. And the bot was totally confused because you are a chatbot that reluctantly answer questions and you is answering that. And what should Marv answer then? So it's very interesting that you are trying to really write some kind of code that makes sense for the bot, but in natural language. And at the end, after trying a bit, I realized that, you know what, probably that's the problem. And I changed it to Marv is, and this just to avoid any future confuses and change it to humans. You see the human is not visible for the end user, but now it knows that Marv is doing that, and Marv is answering that every time based on the chatbot, based on the reluctant and sarcastic responses. Yeah, so that's it. I think for now, you can, of course, dive in the code here and get more examples and make that even change it, make it more complicated, make it yours, do whatever you want. I don't see what one thing I need to remember, and I will do it just right after, is to delete the model that you know the key right now, or we can just do that. It's done. Questions?
I have a few questions
Yep.
that I noted. First of all, here, my name is Esteban. Thanks for the presentation. The first question is, I think I heard that it's not available in Europe. Is it right, or I hear
The
wrong?
chat,
Or
this one is not available in Europe. The chat, not the
the chat.
conversations.
Okay, okay, good. Then the next question will be, how does the price using the Azure OpenAI Studio compares with just using the OpenAI API? Is the same price, or
It's
it
more,
differs?
yeah, it's more or less the same. It's more or less the same. Now the plan is to actually have NuGet packages that will help you do whatever I was doing manually, and
Mm-hmm.
that could be, of course, something to a value proposition to actually start using the Open API. But more or less, it will be the same. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Then I also noted. Um, Do you know how to avoid replying to questions unrelated to a topic? Like, is there a magic prompt that would avoid
No.
my bot to not answer any question about something else that it was
No.
intended to do?
No. The only way to do that is to try and do similar. Let me bring that back to this slide here. When you are actually saying instead of competition, no, I don't, you could answer, I don't want to answer this, I don't know, something. This is not a question I wish to answer, something like that. And have here a representation of what your bot don't want to answer. This is the new problem that we engineers have. We need to learn how to write code and instruct a bot with natural language. There is no checkbox. Don't do that. You need
Mm-hmm.
to instruct it. You need to teach it. So if you don't want it to discuss about AWS, I don't know here. I don't know why I can write here right now. But anyway, if you don't want it to discuss about AWS, you could have AWS here and competition. I don't want to discuss anything about AWS, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know, and I think those kinds of examples make sense because they're still related topics. And for example, if you are making a bot that only answers Azure questions, but
Yeah.
so, for example, something much more difficult to think about will be like, tell me a joke that it will still be able to respond that prompt, or something like, tell me what kind of dish I can make with 5 ingredients,
Yeah.
something like that. Um, but yeah, okay, I understand, and then I was not the only one having the problem.
No, no,
Um,
it's a global it's a problem. It's a real world problem now. It's a new way. We need to learn how to write code this way now.
mhm. Yeah, I have 2 more questions.
Yep,
I
of
Okay,
course.
good. Um, the other thing is, I don't know if you know, I haven't tried. What happens if you train the model with conflicted information? For example, it learned something before. You have you use a model that is already pre-trained, like the GPT Turbo, and you train it with another definition of whatever you want. For example, it can ask you right now, what is the Col Nadom? I am in Cologne. That's what it comes in mind. And if you retrain it with another definition, you know which one has more value at the end, or what would happen, or anything like
The
that?
fine-tuning value will override what you do. If that's what you're asking, the
Yeah, that's
fine-tuning
exactly what I'm
value
asking.
will have, yeah.
Mhm.
So good evening. Basically, no example comes to mind right now. So this should generate the response from Marv.
Mhm.
You see that's quite similar. Now, what could be an example? If you have, for example, this thing, good evening, you do such amazing evening. So that could be contradicting, let's say.
Mhm.
Oops, sorry, I need to actually edit that. I don't know. It seems that the last one kind of overrode the previous
Mhm.
one. But again, if you are talking about the fine tuning and the base models, the fine
Yeah.
tuning will override the base models.
Okay.
If you are
Okay.
talking about this kind of situation, you need to experiment. But even in these scenarios, in the fine-tuning scenarios, what's happening is that you have the static model. You are not retraining the model, the GPT Turbo, because this last training is, I don't know, a few months. They want to train it.
Mhm.
So when you're fine-tuning a model, you are not actually retraining the initial model, the base model. You are training a filter on top of that.
Okay.
So you're asking to get a response, and then that response, you're filtering it through that additional model. And what you're doing is if that fails the filters you created, it asks again with changing some of the parameters in order to get slightly different response and try to match it with what you're doing. So there is still a chance to actually
Mhm.
produce wrong results. There is no way to avoid it. There is no 100% solution for that. That's why what Microsoft is saying is that you need to create, where was that? Here, you need to create some tools then to detect and mitigate harmful users. Okay, I don't know what would be a harmful use for you, right? Apparently, to
Okay.
produce results that will be not suitable for you. So, a way to do that is actually once you get the results from a model, use a
Mhm.
classifier model to classify the response if it is within some limits or not. So have, let's say, another layer of AI checking the response if that's so critical, which will add to the cost at the end, right?
Mhm. Okay. I understand. Well, and I think the last question was related to it was actually if prompt injections is something to keep in mind that are that is
Or
possible to
can you
happen. I
repeat?
mean,
I didn't hear it. Didn't see
prompt
it.
injections. I mean, like for example,
Prompt injections, yeah.
yeah, like giving a literally the string with the separators and make the bot behave in a total different way that as it was supposed to do. But I
Yeah,
guess it is a problem. Okay.
it is a problem. I don't know. I don't feel that it feels illegal what I'm doing, but I don't think it's illegal because it's out there. So if you do, oh no, not that. Here, you will find jailbreaks for ChatGPT. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine the amount of money ChatGPT has with Microsoft on the backing them up, and yet this guy over here, from time to time, updates this done responses. He names it. So if you use it in ChatGPT, then it unlocks it and starts answering everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they can't solve it for now, so I don't think there is a solution for that.
Okay. Good. Those will be my questions. Thanks.
No, of course, thank you. I don't want to have that shared. Anything else? Anyone? Okay. If no, then I can just show you my profile. file in case you wanna connect, feel free. And also, I don't know, it's not. And also, if you wanna ask questions on anything, and if you wanna also um, 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 fade yourself out of the recording, yeah, reach out. I will not do it immediately. I probably will do it this weekend. So you have a few days to think it over and let me know if you wanna be removed. That's it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. See you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.